You see me? You can see me? I cannot hear you.
I can see you.
You can hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
You can hear me? No issues?
No issues.
No issues at all. Is this okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Fine. I'm in the center.
Yeah.
I'm in the center. How's your brother-in-law okay? Everybody okay?
Yeah.
No, serious. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. I don't know how I'm doing this.
Let it be, because this is going live on YouTube. Right now the recording has started.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. You want me to share screen?
Not right now.
Not right now.
No.
Let me test it though, if you want.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. You can see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great.
Stop share.
Stop share. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good, good, good. Let us wait for some more time, because there are just 9 participants. Say 5 minutes or so, we will wait.
Okay. Okay. No problem.
Vakude sir, are you there? Dr. Vakude,
Good morning, madam. Yeah, I'm there.
you are there.
Yes.
So, should we start?
Yes, yes, we can start. Please.
Okay. Okay. It is my pleasure to welcome you all on the 6th day of the 32nd Quality Improvement Program sponsored by All India Council for Technical Education. I'm sure you must have relearned what you learned over past 5 days. You must have done the revision. You must have saved the folders. You must have downloaded the YouTube videos which we had for you. And now you are ready to pick some more pearls from the ocean of the knowledge. So today we have with us our first speaker, my dear Sangeeta Malhotra. She was my lab mate. We worked together in the same lab at Bombay College of Pharmacy. And it is so nice to have her with all of us today. She shifted way back in 1986 to USA, and after completing her B.Pharm and M.Pharm from Bombay College of Pharmacy with laurels, she went there, but the road ahead was not clear. She had to clear the exams for the recognition as a pharmacist in United States of America. And then she joined as a assistant pharmacist at Elmhurst Hospital Center, New York. And after being pharmacist intern from 1988 to 1990, she was promoted to staff pharmacist in 1990. In 1995, she worked as a supervisor narcotic pharmacist, and further from 2002, she became complete inpatient pharmacy supervisor. Later on, she took the role as pharmacy supervisor of the ambulatory services at Elmhurst Hospital Center, New York. And after a long span of the career, last year, she has taken the voluntary retirement to be useful to the social services sector, because she always had that desire to give back to the society and felt that if she continues with the job, she'll not be able to spare the time required for the same. So, welcome, Sangeeta. The dais is yours now.
Thank you so much for the introduction. It's a pleasure and good morning to everyone. It's really nice to be here. Thank you, Amrita. And normally I'm not the kind of person who gives lectures, so it's an opportunity for me to share my experience in the US. So, hospital pharmacist. I have had the pleasure of working in a hospital. It's been an enriching experience for me. And the role of the hospital pharmacist has actually been driven.
Sangeeta, can you enlarge the screen like PowerPoint the way I had told you?
Okay. Where was that? I'm sorry, I don't remember now.
I'm telling you again.
Yeah.
Go to the bottom of the slide. There you will see a cup. Click on that. It will be.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It is still not done on the right.
okay,
Now
now
it
you
is done.
see it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so like I was saying, I had the pleasure of working. I'm sorry about that. I had the pleasure of working in Elmhurst Hospital for 31 years. So I came to the United States, as she told you, and I got my license as a pharmacist in New York State. The role of a pharmacist in the hospital has actually been driven by Joint Commission. So what exactly is Joint Commission? Joint Commission is a nonprofit organization which actually has the mission for continuously improving health care for the public. So what Joint Commission does is they survey all the hospitals in the United States every 3 years. So in a hospital, we are always geared to this survey that's coming to the hospital every 3 years. It's actually very tiring and exhausting 3 years waiting for a survey, and we work very hard towards it. Let me go to my. So, what is the pharmacy department like in America? The pharmacy department has a director, and we were four supervisors, and below us were like a staff of staff pharmacists and pharmacy technicians. We had like 36 pharmacists and 30 pharmacy technicians. So we have four areas of our pharmacy department: the inpatient, outpatient, purchasing, and the ambulatory services. The inpatient area of our pharmacy served 500 beds. The 500 beds included the medicine, surgery, our psychiatry, OBGYN, mother and baby. And we had all these inpatients, and we basically served all these patients by dispensing medications to these all the various patients in the hospital. It was a very, very interesting experience that I had in the inpatient side. I'll talk about the inpatient side later. The outpatient pharmacy, or the outpatient area of our pharmacy department, actually fills 1,200 prescriptions a day. Normally in a community pharmacy in the United States, you fill like 300 prescriptions, but our pharmacy actually filled 1,200 prescriptions a day, and which was very challenging actually. We had a staff of 6 pharmacists and 12 technicians. It was very challenging actually. The third area of our department is the purchasing department. The purchasing department has a budget of about $12 million, and we had 2 pharmacists and few staff technicians actually who worked in the purchasing department, and they managed a budget of $12 million. The main job of the purchasing department was to not only purchase the medications for us in a timely manner, but also to inform us if there were any drug shortages and work with us very closely regarding those drug shortages. Also, when they told us that a certain medication is very expensive, for us to find alternatives for those medications. The fourth area of our pharmacy was the ambulatory services. This area actually took care of the ER, OR, all the clinics in the hospital. We have like 20 clinics in the hospital. The ER of Elmhurst Hospital is the sixth busiest ER in the United States. So it's a very, very busy place. So the ambulatory services area was taking care of that ER. Let me tell you my experience in the inpatient pharmacy. It, it's been very interesting. The role of a pharmacist initially was to just fill baskets or do compounding. And the perception of a pharmacist was just to count pills. This changed actually throughout my career. And this was very, very satisfying actually to see how the perception of a pharmacist changed from just filling baskets. And what do I mean by just filling baskets is we received paper requisitions from all the areas in our hospitals. And the job of the pharmacist was just to look at the requisition and just put all the medications like atenolol, metoprolol, Tylenol, just put everything in a basket and send it to the floors. Once the medications were sent to the floors, we had absolutely no idea and no control how they were administered and what was the dose given. We had absolutely no clue. So basically, pharmacists did not have a role in actually the administration or of the medications. The first time I actually saw that the pharmacist had a role in monitoring or the actual administration was when we started auditing the anesthesiologist. And this actually happened because Joint Commission actually asked us to audit the anesthesiologist. Anesthesia is the only service that can actually order controlled substances and also administer the controlled substances. So Joint Commission said that there is a possibility of diversion, and they wanted pharmacy to go and actually audit the anesthesiologist. So what we did was we logged into their software, and as a pharmacist, we were able to log in and see if we administered like 500 micrograms of fentanyl to anesthesiologist, he had to tell us exactly how he had administered the fentanyl. But if we went into the software and found that he only administered 350 micrograms, so we went to the anesthesiologist and actually said, why do you have the discrepancy? And you have to answer this. That was the first time I saw the pharmacist having some kind of role in the hospital. Then Joint Commission required that we dispense the medications to the patients using the unit dose dispensing system. Even that was primitive compared to what we do right now. This was in the 1990s. So what the doctors, all the physicians did was they used to give us paper orders. They actually wrote them by hand, and it was a triplicate order. So we used to receive a copy of that triplicate order. So what a pharmacist was supposed to do was take the order and manually actually create a profile for each patient. So you had like the patient was on 10 medications. So manually, the pharmacist who used to take a piece of paper and maintain a profile for each patient, actually write down what medications the patient is on. And we had to know if there were any drug-drug interactions when we were dispensing these medications to the patients. So we maintained a profile, we wrote it down manually, typed the name of the patient, made a cassette for each patient, and dispensed the medication all the patients in a cassette. So basically, we had a medication cart, and in that cart were the cassettes of the patients, and this is how the medications were then delivered to all the units. But when we had the paper orders, there was a chance that we might have transcribed the order correctly. So there were errors due to that. We had this transcription errors, and also we had omissions. What if a pharmacist did not read one of the orders and just omitted something. So what we were supposed to do is we used to tell the pharmacist to go um, to the nursing unit and actually look at the MAR of the nurse and see what profile we had actually matched the MAR of the nurse. If there were discrepancies, we had to go back and find out which pharmacist actually did not enter the order in an appropriate manner. But this was just paper orders. And with paper orders, there's always a chance of error and omissions. The actual change that came in hospital pharmacy was when we went into Quadramed software. This is actually when we use software for our physicians to order all their orders. So the physicians, our hospital is basically was a teaching hospital. So when the physicians were taught, came in, they were taught, they were trained on this software. We had training for the Quadramed software system. And the pharmacy used to validate this software. Whatever medications were ordered, the pharmacist actually verified whether the right dosing was being, when the right doses of those medications was seen by the physician. This actually changed the role of the pharmacist. Joint Commission required that all the orders written in the hospital for all the 500 patients have to be verified by pharmacy. If the pharmacist did not verify the order, the nurse was unable to administer the medication. And by having this done electronically, the nurse also had an electronic MAR, which means once an order is written by the physician, it comes to the pharmacy queue. The pharmacist is going to review all the orders and all the orders 24/7, 365 days. So we had approximately 30,000 orders written in a month, and all of them have to be verified in a timely manner. So, and this is very, very important, because if you don't verify the order in a timely manner, the nurse is not going to be able to administer the medication. So the nurse has a window of 2 hours from the time the order is written. And if the order is a standing order, the nurse could administer the order an hour before or an hour after the order is written. So pharmacy became a very essential, it had an essential role in administration of medications. So how did we review these orders though? That was very challenging and a huge learning curve for us. As a pharmacist, even in India, we have clinical teachings, but actually when you practice is different. So how did we learn? We went to the floors. We went to our physicians. I went to my attendings. I asked them questions. We taught each other. We read a lot. For reviewing an order we were taking the responsibility for the order. The physician would write the order and the nurse wants to administer the medication. So we were in between, the gatekeepers actually, to make sure the order is an appropriate order in all respects. What does that mean? That means the dose is correct. The dose has been, if the patient is a renal patient or has hepatic failure, the dose has been adjusted to that. And if the patient is obese, you can't give if a weight-based dose cannot be given by the actual body weight. You actually have to calculate the adjusted body weight. For heparin, like that's an example. If it's an obese patient, there is no way, it's a weight-based dose, but you're not going to give it by the actual body weight of the patient. So this, we had to learn, we taught each other, and all the medications, we had to learn which medication needed renal dosing adjustment, which medication needed hepatic dose adjustment, renal dosing like Reglan, ranitidine. We have all your antibiotics, vancomycin, your cephalosporins. We made sure that everybody knew how these doses had to be written, how they had to be renally adjusted. For hepatic failure, we have fluconazole as an example. We learned. So Quadramed was a very good tool for us because when an order for such medications was written, there was a flag for us, but we had to know the dosing. We had to know we had to know if there's a geriatric patient, we had to know you can't give the same dose to a patient who is younger. You have to know, you have to adjust the frequency of a dose of a medication. This was a huge learning curve for us. And that's where pharmacists played a key role. And nursing staff actually started respecting pharmacy. They said, you are our gatekeepers. Before, we used to dispense everything in a basket and just send it to the floors. And we had absolutely no control. And the nurses also felt like they had somebody they could call and ask, is this the right dose? Even if there was an emergency in the ER and there is no time for us to review an order. We became so important that the ER nurses called us and I said, can you please verify this dose? I have to give this dose to this patient now. Please, can you verify? Please, can you tell me, is this the right dose? So pharmacists, instead of having a perception of just counting pills or compounding, the role was changing. And this happened very gradually. And I saw it in 10 years. We had great respect in the hospital. The hospitals, even we were basically um, taking care of 500 nurses, and this 500 nurses developed respect for us. They said, they told their doctors basically, we are not going to administer a medication unless and until the pharmacist has verified this dose. So this all happened because of Joint Commission. Joint Commission said, for us to give the best healthcare and to make sure there are no errors for when we are dispensing medications, we need pharmacists. The next implementation that was done, which was very important, was IV mixing. Let me get back to ICUs and neonates. So what happened in the ICUs was they were used to having medications in their closets basically, and they did not trust pharmacy to, they did not trust us actually, because it's an ICU, it's an intensive care unit, and they need their medications for their patients immediately. So they thought the pharmacy, if they take over the dispensing of medications, they will not have the medications in time. So it was very challenging for us to convince the ICU and the neonate ICU doctors that we will actually dispense the medications in time for you. We gave them a very small power stock, and we worked with the doctors. We gained their trust. We said, do not worry. We know that your patients are in intensive care, and we are not going to delay treatment. So the implementation in the ICUs was very challenging. But once they saw that we were going to be dispensing the medications in a timely manner, they gained their respect also, and it went very smoothly. very smoothly. It took time though for the attendings in the ICUs and in the neonates to gain their respect. It did take time. It took a lot of effort, actually training our staff, telling them the importance of doing their work in a timely manner, and to be dealing with the doctors and physicians, telling them, do not worry, your patients will be taken care of. The next implementation is the IV mixing. So Joint Commission actually, they found out that the nurses had the burden of mixing all the antibiotics, chemotherapy medications, the TPN. The mixing was done on the nursing units. And the Joint Commission said that there is no way that nurses have the time or the expertise of mixing these IV medications. The IV medications were mixed on the floor, and they were not trained. The nurse is not trained for using aseptic technique to mix these medications, the vancomycin, your dopamine drips, all the IV medications that were mixed were done actually on the floor. So if I am the patient, or if a family member of mine is a patient, and if the nurse is mixing the medications on the floor and not using the aseptic technique, there's a very high chance that the product that is going to be administered will not be of the right sterility. It's not going to be a sterile product. So Joint Commission required that pharmacy take over the mixing of all medications in the hospital. So we have a USB 797 chapter, and this chapter has to be very strictly followed by the pharmacy department. It actually gives us it's very detail oriented, and it tells us the weekly tests that have to be performed by the pharmacy to make sure that the aseptic technique is followed, and the proper training has to be given to our staff. We also yearly make sure that the proper aseptic technique is followed by our staff. We are actually giving them a test, and actually they actually would mix something, and we would send it to our labs to make sure that the product has been prepared in the aseptic technique manner. This was actually very helpful for our nursing staff. All the burden of mixing of IVs was taken over by pharmacy. So the role of the pharmacist was really changing in the hospital. And this gave us not only a good feeling about ourselves, but it also gave us uh, uh, we got importance in the hospital, and it felt good actually to be a part of patient care, so that we can improve patient outcomes in the hospital. Because if the mixing is done in a proper manner, you definitely have better patient outcomes. The mixing of chemotherapy was a challenge too. It was normally done by nursing initially, then pharmacy took over, and pharmacy also got special training. Pharmacists got special training. We got special, um, not only the technique was different, we even provided them with different kind of devices, so that even the pharmacists who were mixing were because these are toxic, and they could harm the person who's actually mixing the chemotherapy medications. So to protect our staff, we used to purchase devices that would protect them, and we basically followed the USB 797 for mixing our IVs and our chemotherapy medication. Then the last validation before I retired was the Epic software. This is a great tool that we acquired. Quadromet was a good, it was a fairly good software, but Epic is is an amazing software. If anybody has a chance from India to see this software, it is amazing. We really enjoyed the validation of it, and, and we saw how it helped the pharmacy to see the entire picture of the patient. In Quadramed, we did see the patient's profile and we were able to see the lab values of the patient. But in Epic, we not only saw all the lab values, if the patient was admitted in a different hospital, and if that hospital had the same software, we could actually request chart review from our software to put in the other hospital. Like if I had a patient who was in Cornell or Columbia, and I needed to know what medications what that patient was on, I could actually request chart review from that hospital, and from my software see if what medications the patient was in Cornell or in Columbia. That really helped us, because if for better patient outcome, the continuity of medications is extremely important. Like if a patient is on hypertensive medications or is on diabetes medications, and if I want to verify a dose, if I could go into my Epic software and request a chart review if the patient is from Cornell or Columbia, or even if the patient is coming from another hospital in New York City, which belongs to our HHC corporation, I could just request chart review and actually see what medication the patient was in the other hospital. That really improves patient outcomes. Clinical pharmacists. So we were then seeing the role of the pharmacist changing as becoming more clinical and becoming a part of our pharmacy and therapeutics committee. We gained respect of our physicians, and we had a committee with the physicians, which was called the Pharmacy and Therapeutic Committee. We were a member, and any medications the doctors requested to be added to our formulary had to go through this P&T committee. And they had to go through a rigorous process, and they had to tell us why they want to add this medication in our formulary. And the pharmacist, our clinical pharmacist, would then evaluate and see, is this actually needed? What are the pros and cons of having this medication in our formulary? So as a clinical pharmacist also, then we standardize the concentration of medications administered to the adult, pediatric, and a neonate population. How, I'll give an example. We have dopamine or we have dobutamine. So we standardized the concentration. So we decided, like, for example, the dopamine is given as a 800 milligram in a 500 ml bag. So we standardized all these concentrations of our medications. And by standardization, it really decreases errors of administration of these medications. You have a standard bag, and then you can administer this bag as per the dose, and which is basically based on the weight of the patient. So we made standard concentrations of medications, and we used pumps to administer these medications in the units. This was a lot of work because we worked with the physicians, and actually worked with the physicians and nurses and actually came up with the right concentrations for all our medications. We had um, we we for a neonate especially the concentrations had to be standardized. The neonates, um, the concentrations that the nurses used to initially be administering were very high, we found out, and we told them this could actually um, have adverse effects. So we basically um, sat down with them and said this is the minimum concentration or the maximum concentration of a certain medication like ampicillin. You could make a bag of 20 milligram per kg or 100 milligram per kg for a neonate. The concentrations were decided based on if a medication can be given peripherally and had no adverse reactions, basically, if given at a certain concentration. The doctors and nurses worked with us, and we had a whole list of medications that were then given only at this concentration. The next project we worked on was medication reconciliation. Why do we reconcile medications when a patient comes into the hospital? This is for better patient outcome, for continuity of care. When a patient comes to a hospital, the first question now is asked, what medications are you taking at home? And these medications, especially if these patients are diabetic or have high blood pressure, these medications need to be continued when the patient is in the hospital. So what we did was we always gave a printout of all the medications when the patient was discharged in the hospital, and so that when the patient came back to the hospital and was admitted, the patient could show us that printout. Or if the patient did not belong to our hospital, we could be even ask them, can you bring in, we asked the family members actually to bring in the medications or the bottles of the medication of the patient so that we could make sure that the doctors would write the orders for all these medications and we had continuity of care. The next is barcode scanning. This actually improved patient outcomes. So what was done was we scanned all the barcodes of all the medications that were in the pharmacy. And all the barcodes of all the medications were scanned into our software, which was the Quadramet, which was later on was Epic. So how does this work? When a physician actually prescribes or enters an order in the Epic system, and the pharmacist then verifies the order, this order is then seen by the nurse in her MAR, in her EMAR, basically. So the nurse knows now she has to administer this medication. So once the order is accepted and it falls into the nurse's MAR, she then has the option of administering the medication. She goes to the patient's bedside. She would scan the patient's wrist. There's a band. She would scan that, and she scans the medication itself. When she does that, it accepts in our Epic system, this shows the right medication was administered to the right patient. For some reason, if the pharmacy has dispensed an incorrect medication or an incorrect dose, the nurse will not be able to scan that medication. So by having the barcode scanning process in Epic really improve patient outcomes. And pharmacy was responsible for scanning all the medications in our Epic system. The next is developing order sets for our PCA, anticoagulation. The the physician requested the pharmacist to work with them. The cardiologist, the neurologist, all of them requested pharmacy come on board and work with them and to develop order sets. Ours was a teaching hospital. So when a resident comes to our hospital and is in the cardiology department or is training for cardiology. So if he developed order sets for cardiology, it was very easy for the resident to be trained and to write orders in that service. So that so what we did was like if a patient is in cardiology and if he has an MI, this is just an example. So we developed an order set. So for heparin, integralin, Plavix, aspirin. So it was like an order set. So when there was a click, just a click to go to the order set, and everything showed up so that a resident it was very easy for the resident to see what medication the patient should be on, and they would just order all the medications for that patient. So developing order sets has been really helpful, and this was work done by a clinical pharmacist with the physicians. And we were also preceptors for our St. John's University students. The St. John's University students came to us on a monthly basis, or they have rotations now. They spend like a few months with us, and we teach them, we take them to our different areas of the pharmacy, so they know what is the role of a pharmacist in a hospital. So doing the clinical work really actually changed the perception of a pharmacist in the hospital. It's been really recognized by the hospital now. I My last 7 or 8 years I spent in the ambulatory care services of my department. And the ambulatory care basically was the ER and all the clinics in our hospital. The emergency room is in our hospital is the sixth busiest emergency room in the United States. It's a very busy place. And the way we had the medications stored in the ER was absolutely a disaster, I must say, because we had medications in carts, and it was all jumbled up. For me also, when we used to go to the ER, it looked like there was a chance of error. The wrong medication could have been easily administered and to any patient because of the way it was stored in the ER. So I actually implemented Pyxis in the ER. This actually gave us control and organized the entire ER. I had a Pyxis cabinet. What is a Pyxis cabinet? It's actually an automated dispensing cabinet. You can say it's like a vending machine. So what we do is we have all the medications in QBs in a machine. So when a doctor writes an order, the nurse can go to this Pyxis cabinet and request that medication. So how does she request it? She'll go and look for the patient's name in the Pyxis, and then she has she has a menu from where she can actually type. Actually, she can actually type the name of the medication, and that QB actually opens for the nurse. So if she wants metoprolol, she'll go select metoprolol, and that particular QB will open for her, and she could get the metoprolol. So chances of error are greatly reduced by the use of these automated dispensing cabinets. Pyxis cabinets have been in America for the last 10, 15 years, and they work really well. They also work in the inpatient side, because so how it works in the inpatient side is when a physician writes an order, the pharmacist in the pharmacy will verify the order. Once the pharmacist verifies the order, the Pyxis cabinet that's in the inpatient, the nursing unit, will actually allow the nurse to go and pick that medication for that patient. That QB will open for that patient only. So it's a very uh, error-free process. Actually, we try to minimize error to the minimum by using these automated dispensing cabinets. In the ambulatory care service, I was also in, I participated in the vaccine distribution. So the state actually gives us $2 million, um, $2 million on a yearly basis for vaccines that are actually administered to our pediatric population. So whenever you get free product from the state, so what do you expect? They are going to audit us. And they used to audit us on a yearly basis to make sure that the $2 million that they had given us were being actually uh, given to the patients in a timely manner and to the appropriate population of patients. Only the eligible patients could be given this free vaccine. So it was actually, they used to come and audit us very carefully. We used to be actually scared when they used to come. And they also looked at how we stored these vaccines in our refrigerators. They asked us, how do you store them? When did you receive them? Because they gave us $2 million worth of vaccines. So this was an audit we used to have every year, and we knew they're coming to see how we are administering these vaccines. Other project we had was emergency trays. We developed these emergency trays, the emergency medications that anyone would need in case of a cord. And these trays were distributed all over the hospital. We had like 100 trays in the hospital. Well, we had to make sure there was nothing expired in those trays. So once the medications expired, these trays used to come back to us, and we had to fill them and make sure they were there in all the areas, in all the nursing units and all the clinics in a timely manner. The next was 10-track implementation that was done by us. So we have like 100 refrigerators in our hospital, and all the 100 refrigerators were on a software to make sure that all the medications are stored appropriately. The temperature had to be between 36 degrees and 46 degrees Fahrenheit. So we had to make sure, and how could we make, the only way we could make sure was having this software, which was called temp track. And this software we used to carry our beepers, and if the temperature was below 36 or above 46, we got a beep in our beeper. and it told us, oh, there is a problem in one of these refrigerators. We had to go and make sure, sequester the product, go and immediately transfer everything to a different refrigerator or bring it back to our um, pharmacy and store it in our refrigerator. This was important when Joint Commission came to survey us. They used to ask, can we see how you store your um, vaccines or all your medications that have to be refrigerated? How do you track if all the medications that need to be refrigerated are always maintained at a temperature? So having the software really helped us. The other thing that Joint Commission required was we do a monthly inspection of all the clinics and nursing units. This monthly inspection was very time consuming and labor intensive. So what was required was that all the medications that are stored in the nursing units or in our clinics are stored at the proper temperature and they are not expired. So this was another Joint Commission initiative, and this had to be done. It was very labor intensive. The the last few years, I worked on having an adult behavioral health service. So this is basically a psych clinic in our hospital. So I actually worked with the psych clinic and had a pharmacist work in that hospital. So instead of not only did we work, the pharmacist worked for the inpatient side, we took a role in the outpatient clinic side. So having a pharmacist in the adult behavioral health service, which is the site clinic, was of great value to this clinic. How do they, I'll tell you how it helped them. We have like 5,000 site patients in our clinic. And out of these 5,000 clinics, we had about 300 to 350 patients who received a long-acting injectables on a monthly basis. Joint Commission required when a patient or a site patient came to our site clinic, and if a doctor wrote an order for a long-acting injection, that order for the long-acting injection had to be verified by pharmacy. So it was imperative that I place a pharmacist in that clinic. So that pharmacist was responsible for verifying not only the orders for those for the long-acting injectables. What the pharmacist actually did was, um, because the patients had insurance, worked with an outside pharmacy, a community pharmacy, and made sure that all the long-acting injections were available for the patients when they came in for their monthly visit. These patients had their insurance. So, uh, and these are site patients. Normally the doctor used to write a prescription for these long-acting injections, and the psych patients were asked to go to the pharmacy, pick up their long-acting injections, and bring them to the clinic for the administration. By having a pharmacist in the clinic, the pharmacist did the work for the patients. The pharmacist made sure that when the patient was supposed to come for the injection, for the monthly injection, we had it ready for the patient and the doctor. So this really improved patient care and adherence. A site patient sometimes is not going to go to the pharmacy and get their injections. You cannot expect a site patient actually to go and bring the injection to the pharmacy or to the clinic in a timely manner. This actually helped patient care and improve patient outcomes. Uh, and we also implemented billing of these antipsychotic injections and contraceptives and McKenna. These are all very expensive. And I worked with the finance department to bill for these highly expensive antipsychotic injections. Each injection costs like a few $1,000s. So the finance department actually came up to us and said that the pharmacy is always spending money. Is there a way you can help us to bring revenue instead of just spending money? How can you help us bring revenue? So I worked with the billing department and set up a billing process. And how did we set this up? A charge is actually generated upon administration of any antipsychotic injection. So I worked with the EPIC team and I worked with my nursing staff and made sure as soon as the antipsychotic injection was administered, a bill was generated. And once this bill was generated, I used to go back and actually see if the patient had the right insurance, that we, we actually got paid. Once we saw that if the administration was done on time and a bill was dropped on time, we actually started generating revenue. The last implementation that was done by me was in the allergy clinic. I actually had no idea when my boss told me we have to do this and this is required by joint commission, and joint commission is saying that a pharmacist should be mixing all the allergens for a physician in the allergy clinic. Honestly, I had no idea what the allergenic extracts were. Had to work with the doctor. I, I made phone calls. I did a lot of research. I didn't know how to order these allergens, but this was a requirement by Joint Commission, and they said, like, you mix all the IVs that you administer to these patients, the allergenic extracts also have to be mixed by pharmacy. This this was the last implementation done by us, and we worked very closely with our physician. She was really great, and we were successful in actually having this done with her um, with her cooperation. The last joint commission actually came to our allergy clinic and was very impressed by what we had achieved there. Initially, the doctor used to mix her own allergens. She used to write the order, mix her allergens, and administer. And she was also apprehensive initially, but then she saw that we were there for her and we were going to mix the allergens the way she wanted. So this was another role that pharmacy played. And we were successful in doing so. So I, what I have seen in my last 30 years is the perception of a pharmacist changed from just dispensing, um, just putting everything in a basket and just sending it to the floors, to actually becoming an integral part of the hospital. And going to the floors, having going to the clinics have become an important part of the hospital. It's been a very interesting journey for me. I learned a lot, and I'm actually grateful that I had this opportunity to work in this hospital and gained a lot of experience. Um, Thank you for listening. I can't hear you, Jyoti.
I request you to stop the screen sharing.
Okay.
So it was a wonderful presentation giving us the overview of how the hospital system and especially the pharmacist in hospital system has developed from 1990s to
Yes.
2020.
Yes.
Uh, I think India is still in the 1990s.
I want India to become like the US or even better, actually.
Yeah,
Because
but
I have seen so much and I wish I could help. Actually, I started from scratch to seeing the pharmacists on the floors, being recognized. It's been a wonderful experience for me, actually. It
listening to
has
you,
been a wonderful experience.
listening to you gave us lot of knowledge about how ideally the hospital system should work, how you
Yes.
are ensuring using the softwares that a proper medication is given at a proper time in a proper dose, and you have audit systems at each place,
Yes.
at the
Yes.
pharmacist place, at the nurse's place. Like I never thought that, after the doctor uh, prescribes a medication, that prescription comes to you as a soft copy. You read that, you audit that, then you send it as a soft copy, clearing. It goes to the nurse, nurse sees that, and again she has to screen the band with the patient.
Yes.
So at
Yes.
every stage, there is so
Yes. There are
much
checks
of.
and balances in every stage.
So
Yes.
here, what happens is uh, the doctor, the pharmacist doesn't have a say at all.
Oh, that's why I said it was very enlightening for me to see. And actually, I implemented all this, so I'm very proud. Actually,
Naturally,
I had the opportunity to implement this.
right. So the seminar is open for discussion. Or I request the delegates to put forward their questions either in the chat box, or they can put their microphone on and ask the questions.
Thank you. Thank you. It has been a very enriching experience for me, actually.
Listening to you was such an enriching experience for us, because we all we all are worried about our patients, when they
Right.
go to hospital. There is no check anywhere. The
Yes.
doctor prescribes, and then it is not that the hospital pharmacy gives the drugs. Actually, doctor gives us the prescription. We go out and purchase from the pharmacy, and then it is given to the doctors or the nurses, and that is how the system works. There is no check by the pharmacist about the
Right.
dosage,
Right.
about the correctness, about the drug interaction. Nothing. There is no role at all.
Yes. This
Doctor is
this
a
is
god.
what I learned, and I didn't even have the background. Imagine I had no background. I used to go to the floors. I used to ask, "How do you do this? Why is this done?" I enjoyed it, actually. I really enjoyed it. I miss my work, actually. I do miss my work because I really enjoyed it.
Great, great.
But I think it's time to do something else and give someone else a chance. I spent like 31 years and I had a great time. I did have a great time.
I request Dr. Bakode to give his inputs.
Morning, madam. Thank you very much for giving wonderful lectures to all our delegates and all faculty members as well as students. So it was very nice to see that how the developments was there in the hospital pharmacy in US especially. Gradually they have changed themselves, and to the last extent they are doing a wonderful work with the help of different software, and that is the part which we are missing here. And Parliament Madam has already mentioned that we are having very less role of pharmacists. It is true, but we need to improve our system. There you need to go after Bachelor of Pharmacy or Master in Pharmacy also. You need to clear one entrance exam and then enter the pharmacy profession. So here our we can say that our political systems or other things are so complicated that even we are unable to increase upgrade the D farm to B farm directly. So that was also problem. Only 2 year diploma course is mandatory for running a pharmacy store or become a pharmacist. So that is the main disadvantage over here. Even the curriculum we are somewhat behind, and changes especially in the hospital or medical store related aspect is very much opposed by the chemist and druggist associations also. That is one of the important hurdle. They do not want that there should be much more modifications or much more stringent laws to be run by the government. So that lobby is very strong one. That is why we are facing some problem. But in future, from the future point of view, all the teachers who are present over here and all of us, we need to train our students and requesting them so that they will at least adopt in future in few years after that the next generation which we will be preparing, they will be able to cope up with this gap what is there in the US as well as India. We definitely will be somewhat lesser than that of the US, but it's not like that. We have to deal with the socio-economic conditions of Indian population also from that point of view also. But definitely there is a very good scope for our improvement. We need to improve, and I hope with this technology software we'll be able to do some better work. Then, thank you. All.
Dr. Bakode, I agree with you. Certain points which make India different from US's, they have a very huge land and the population is very less
Yeah.
as compared to Indian population. Second thing, what I appreciate of say Sangeeta or Pramila or such other pharmacists is their knowledge base is very rich, that they are able to audit the prescriptions and suggest the doses. Everything has to be by heart or on their systems. And the digitalization which they have made, like the software she mentioned about Quadramate, then Epic, then Pyxis, all these have helped them in gaining the knowledge as well. So either,
Actually, yeah. Actually, you learn by experience more than anything else. The
Yes.
more you do, the more you practice, the better you get. It's the experience that teaches you. Even, you can read it in the books. Like I can tell you, vancomycin needs to be dosed renally, right? But only after you do it over and over again, it becomes second nature to you.
yes,
You look at the patient, you look at the weight, you look at the renal function, you say only 1 gram or 500 milligrams. Doc, you can't give more than 500 milligrams. It becomes second nature to you. So it's only by practice that you learn. I've seen,
you
and I'll tell you, it's a great feeling also, when you can actually help the doctor and you can teach the residents. It's a very fulfilling experience, very fulfilling experience.
you have rightly said that uh, the experience makes the knowledge go from
Yes.
the conscious state to subconscious state. And when it is at the subconscious state, it automatically comes out when required.
Yes. Yeah. And with practice,
Yes, yes.
and the more you work, the better you get at, and the more mistakes you make. You learn with it by your mistakes also. We used to teach each other. Actually, I had a very good group of staff pharmacists who worked with me. I was very I think I was after them. You have to learn. Why? You have to learn. But it was a good experience, a very good experience.
So, as a teacher, our role should be not that we transfer just what is given in the syllabus. I repeatedly tell, I remember the lecture, I think, of Dr. Sanjay Wagh. Dr. Sanjay Wagh has aptly said that we have to give them the practical aspect of each and
Yes,
everything you teach. Unless
yes,
and until it goes to the implementation stage, all the knowledge gained is just the futile exercise. It goes in the
exactly.
drain.
Yes,
It
so
has to be
true, so
implemented.
true. So this is how, but this took us a while, because initially, I'm telling you, the doctors and nurses, when they did not have the trust in us, it took us time. It did take us a lot of time. Now everyone knows that pharmacy is there, they have to review the orders. Now it's a well-known fact, but initially they said, you're taking away our control. We had the medications with us, you took away our medications, you know. So it was hard initially, it was hard. Now it's a well-known fact and everybody practices that in the US, but it was hard initially,
I
it
think
was
now
hard.
the Indian pharmacists have to understand this and work upon themselves to gain the knowledge and go through this hard journey to gain the respect. And
But
teachers would
yes,
teachers will have the pivotal role in imbibing this on the imprintable minds of the young students,
yeah.
because
and
whatever
it's
they
and
teachers have a great role.
and just like the doctors, how they bill for their services. Now in my psych clinic, I left just before we were going to implement that. We could bill for our services, like the doctors bill for their services.
Oh, oh,
Yes, you can bill for your services, which is amazing. Yeah,
great, great.
yeah. So that you're just like a physician, almost like a physician. You
Great,
know,
great.
the person in charge of the psych clinic, they miss me even now. They say, why did you leave us? Because we had developed a very good relationship, and it was nice working with them. It was
So we are
nice.
grateful to you, Sangeeta, for sparing your valuable time for us. And
No, thank you for listening to me. And it was like 31 years of experience. I said, I don't know how to share it with you. I just did the slides you told me. Thank you. This was, I don't think I hope I tried to explain
yes, it
how
was
we work.
indeed a good knowledge for all of us. And let me present you with a bouquet of flowers and a certificate. Normally, we call the people, and it is our honor to give them in presence. But this time, everything virtual. But still, it is great that it is virtual, because of this virtuality, because of this digitalization, because of the development of the IT section, we could connect with the people from all over the world sitting at our desks. So it is
That
indeed a
is true.
pleasure.
No,
So
thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for having the confidence in me.
kindly accept the bouquet of flowers. It is for you.
Thank you. Thank you
And
so much.
I will share your certificate as well. Just give me a moment. Yeah, here it goes. Your certificate for presenting. And
Thank you.
at the end, let me all tell you that I had to coax Sangeeta to deliver this lecture And before delivering the lecture, she has written to me, I don't know how I have agreed and how you made me agree with this. And this is, I believe this is the first time she has shared her experience in the form of the lecture. So well
that
done,
is so
Sangeeta.
true.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
That is so true. That is so true. Thank you so much. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we have with us our second speaker. Has our second speaker joined?
Yes, sir is there.
Yeah, he's there. Dr.
Yes.
Valliyappan Kanupalam.
I'm there long back.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It is
I
nice
think-
seeing you.
I think we have begun schedule. 5 minutes began schedule.
Yeah, yeah. So it is wonderful to have Dr. Valliyappan, and Dr. Valliyappan with DIPSAR have a history. You know, I'm so happy. I cannot tell you how much I'm happy to have you, Dr. Valliyappan.
Me too, me too.
I tried to bring him because he's such an expert in stereochemistry and he explains it so lucidly that we were trying to get him all the time. We had kept complete a day during our continuing education program, which we conducted last year. And he wanted to come, the tickets were booked, everything was ready. And his health took a back step and he had to cancel the program. And then later, again, we decided to conduct this quality improvement program in the physical mode. And everything was planned. Again, his tickets were booked. But the COVID-19 situation came and we had to cancel the physical program. And today, in this online mode program, he could join us. And that is an honor for us. It's a great pleasure to have you, Dr. Valliyappan.
Same here, same here.
Yeah.
Please.
So Dr. Valliyappan is going to speak on reflections on the science of mirror image molecules. Before we proceed, let me go through the brief achievements and the journey of Dr. Valliyappan from his young days. Dr. Valliyappan has retired as a professor of quality assurance from Annamalai University, Department of Pharmacy. He has rich experience of 30 years in the teaching and research profession. I'm surprised that he has written the mission, which I rarely find in the CVs. The mission for his life now is to spread the importance of chirality in pharmaceutical research and development and invite more researchers into the chiral research landscape. He is a visiting professor to Philadelphia College of Pharmacy, University of Sciences in Philadelphia, to pursue the studies on chiral compounds. He's echoing. That's what I'm not understanding why it is echoing. IT team, can you take care while it is echoing? Okay. I think they have muted all the participants, thus it is not echoing anymore. Thank you, IT team. He was a visiting professor of Indian Society of Technical Education in Pharmacy. He was a speaker on invitation and he has presented in various international and national conferences, symposia and webinars, including IPC, APTI National Convention and Chiral India. He has mobilized funds from UGC, AICT and DST to the tune of 1.5 crores. He has coordinated the UGC SAP DRS Phase 2 project from 2014 to 16. and got the funding of 120 lakhs. The thrust area being chiral and nanotechnology. He has more than 65 research papers to his credit, and under his guidance, 11 students have completed PhD and 67 students have completed their masters. He is a member of editorial board of 3 journals, and he is a professional reviewer for analytical and bioanalytical chemistry, Springer, Journal of Pharmaceutical and Biomedical Analysis, Elsevier, Journal of Separation Science, Wiley, Chromatographia, Springer, Journal of Chromatographic Science, Oxford, Journal of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. He is a member of Management Committee of Chromatographic Society of India and the Associate Editor of the CSI newsletter for the period of 2010 to 2013. Such illustrious biodata. It's our pleasure to have Dr. Valiyappan describing his experience in chirality. The dais is yours, Dr. Valiyappan.
Thank you so much. Can I start sharing?
Yeah, you can start sharing.
Then once I go ahead, I'll I think mute my video because I would prefer that because that'll consume some data from my side. Okay?
It would be better, sir, because the people
Want to see me?
If you keep the mode of side by side, they can see your slides as well as your actual delivery, so that they get connected.
Let me see. That's okay. That's okay. Let me share now.
Yeah, please, sir.
Then I'll go ahead with my, is it fine? Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Enlarge, sir. Maximize it.
Yeah, I'm playing it. Yeah. That's okay?
Yeah. It's nice to see you and see your slides, sir. Thank you.
Fine. Thank you so much. This is Valiyappan here, and it's a pleasure talking to all of you this morning. I deem it an honor to associate myself with the, I think, I'm getting this, that, admit that's popping up every time. Can they hide that? Yeah, it's better. I deem it an honor to associate myself with the AICT sponsored online QIP program, Updates in Pharmaceutical Research, organized by DIPSAR, New Delhi. And I wish to place on record my sincere thanks to Professor Goyal, then my good friend, Professor Pathak, the director of DIPSAR, then Dr. Amrita Parle, whom I'm talking to her every day, the QIP cell coordinator. Then my thanks to Professor Sharad Wakode. Am I okay? Am I correct in spelling that?
Yes.
Myself and Professor Pathak, we are together at Chandigarh, doing a master's. Yeah. He was doing his PhD. So as I said, my mission has been to spread the prominence of chirality in pharmaceutical education and research. During this journey, I did notice a phenomenon called stereophobia that does exist among both teachers and students. Stereophobia, what I mean is an allergy to stereochemistry, a hatred to stereochemistry, or an aversion or a fear. They don't get connected to stereochemistry. Even for instance, suppose I say, this is a lecture today on stereochemistry. People will tell that I am from Shutics, it doesn't matter to me, or I am from pharmacognosy, I'm not related to that. That kind of an not belongingness to the three-dimensional science. So this presentation is basically to invite more, people into the chiral science or chiral landscape. And this topic is of immense relevance, especially in today's context, when there is an exponential explosion of chiral technology and a lot of pressure from regulatory agencies for the production of enantiomer molecules, and also to have an enantiomer. Excuse me, can they? This noise is disturbing me frequently. The admit noise is coming up every time. Can they mute that?
Actually, that noise is for some joining. Some people are joining.
No, it's frequently coming. It's disturbing my thought process. It's okay, eh?
I think.
Okay, it's okay. I'll manage. Yeah. So no, this is also what I was trying to tell you is that this topic of immense relevance, especially when there's an exponential explosion of chiral technology, and there's a pressure from regulatory agencies for the production of enantiomer molecules, and also to have a mirror image perspective, like pharmacokinetic, pharmacodynamic, or toxicological studies that you perform. If the molecule under question is chiral, so if your molecule is chiral, you need to have a mirror image perspective. So I understand my time slot is 60 minutes, and we are behind 5 minutes of the schedule. I think I should be able to get it done. And so with it, let me get into my presentation on reflections on the science of mirror image molecules. So this is the purpose of my presentation: introduce you to chiral concepts, highlight the prominence of chirality, need for mirror image perspective in drug research, regulators stand on chiral issues, rediscovery of stereochemistry, why and its impact, research opportunities it throws open. So we'll be focusing on all these, these aspects. So this is this sketch of my presentation, and can I? Can you? Is there any way I can, mute this, this pop-up coming down every time? Can I do anything with that?
Excuse me, sir. Yes, you can do that. When you click the participant list, there is an option with 3 dots. If you click that, you will get an option to play sound when someone joins or leaves.
Oh. No, not that. Whenever, I find that the top screen is always coming down and going up, whether it's showing the participants, share and all. Can I stop that?
Okay, sir. I'll try to do that.
Because my screen is getting blocked on the the top. So जो mute है ना, mute video के वो सब नीचे आते जा रहा है, up and down.
Sir, see if it's fine now.
Still there, but it's not moving.
Remove sir from co-host. That will enable him to see only his screen only.
So it won't go away. It will be there. That's okay. If it doesn't move, it's okay. Okay, that's okay. So this is this sketch of my presentations, and we'll be going through the chirality. Then we'll go to prominence of chirality, handedness, rediscovery, chiral research opportunities, and we will wrap up. So we'll get into each of this. I understand most of you are, teachers, maybe fresh. I'm not sure, because I talked to Professor Pathak. He said, you can talk to them something on, not in too much in depth, because people are already scared of stereochemistry. So this will be a kind of, light lecture where I'll be taking you to the prominence of chirality, why is it important, what you should do, and all that. So, and the research opportunities it throws open to pharmaceutical scientists. So that's the idea. I'm not going to in depth. So this slide, in case this slide some of you are familiar, you can just ignore that and keep going. If an object and there's a mirror image, if I cannot superimpose, I refer such pair as enantiomers. You call them as handed molecules, you call them as chiral twins, you call them as mirror image molecules, so on and so forth. Let's quickly go through.
Audio is not clear.
It's not clear? Is it okay now?
For other participant, is it clear?
Is it okay?
Sir, continue speaking. If there is problem, we will again tell you.
Okay. So chiral concepts, this is the first line, and we talk about this is a pair of enantiomers. This is an absolute configuration R here. This is an S. You find here a racemic mixture. You find 6 of them towards the left and 6 of them towards the right. It's a racemic mixture. It's optically inactive. You find this line, all of them towards one direction, and you call them as enantiomerically pure or enantiopure molecules. These are optically pure. This is enantiomerically enriched. You find all of them towards one, and there's one hand towards the right, indicating that it is enantiomerically enriched. This is the one we'll be looking for. In case when you are synthesizing chiral molecules, you look for enantiomeric purity of 99.99. That's the kind of purity you're looking for. This is a simple relationship which you would have done in your bachelor's degree, and you find here, and these two are related as enantiomers. You find here, two chiral centers with absolute configuration. Yes. There's a mirror image here, and then you find here is a meso compound. These two are related as diastereoisomers. This you might appreciate it better on this slide. This is tartaric acid enantiomers. This is a mesotartaric acid. 1 and 3 are related as enantiomers, diastereoisomers, and 2 and 3 are related as diastereoisomers, because you find enantiomers, you have complete inversion. You go from S to R, you go from S to R. Here you find from S to R, here it is S to S. So these two are diastereoisomers, these are enantiomers. Okay, so let's just go into an interesting concept which you normally use in, in HPLC in chromatography, chiral purity. Enantiomeric purity is usually reported in terms of enantiomeric excess. When you have a molecule with a single chiral center, when I perform an HPLC, I get 2 peaks. In this case, it's a racemic mixture. You find both areas are same, and so there is no enantiomeric excess. This is a formula we employ. Major minus minor upon major plus minor 100. So you find here 2 peaks. One peak is large with the 90 area, another one is 10. So if you apply the formula, you get 80%. Here you find it is 98%. And when you synthesize a chiral molecule, you're looking for a purity of 99.9%. So that's the kind of purity you're looking for. And there are various tools employed to measure chiral purity. These are the various tools that the most popular among is the chromatographic technique, especially HPLC. You can use polarimetry, you can use CD spectroscopy, NMR is used. So among this, the most popular one will be HPLC. Of course, GC you have capillary electrophoresis, but they are much less used. Having said that, well, let's get into the prominence of chirality, and let us try to reflect or understand the significance of chirality by reflecting upon the following components. Let us look at the nature of life, try to understand the importance of chirality. Let's go to research, the breakthrough there, regulatory environment, the chiral drug development, global business from chiral products, chiral drugs, global trends, unichiral medicines employed in therapy, pharmaceutical companies engaged with. So you'll be going through this and trying to understand the prominence of chirality in pharmaceutical research or field. So let's just start. I'm trying to go into these 5 blocks here. Let's first click into nature. You look at that the molecules of life are chiral. The RNA, DNA, proteins, all these are chiral molecules. And interestingly, you find that all the sugars that goes into the building up of RNA or DNA, nucleic acids, have D configuration. Whereas you'll find that all the amino acids that goes in the building of proteins, natural proteins, have the L configuration. This is the relative configuration, which meaning that then nature has got a unique chiral nature. It is never it is racemic, So the homochirality or unichirality is the signature of life. If you look at these molecules, you're very familiar. Millennium drugs, morphine and quinine. These are, morphine and quinine. These are highly demanding chemical structures. Morphine has got, 5 stereogenic centers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. 5 of them. The configuration I have mentioned here. If you find that when I have 5 stereogenic centers, the molecule can exist in 2 to the power of 5 stereoisomers, meaning that 32 stereoisomers. So morphine can exist in 32 stereoisomers, and you find that among that, only one of them, the levomorphine, which has got the configuration 5R, 6S, 9R, 13S, 14R, has got the desired biological activity of narcotic analgesic activity. So very interesting, you have got 32 stereoisomers possibility, but morphine, the only one form which has got the biological activity is the levomorphine. Similarly, if you look at quinine, quinine is an anti-malarial agent, it has got 4 chiral centers, so it can exist in 16 stereoisomers, and you'll find that among the 16 stereoisomers, only the levoquinine has got the anti-malarial activity, which meaning that the nature is very, very stereospecific. In fact, for us to synthesize a pure enantiomers, you need to have a very specialized techniques called, you need to have a chiral synthesis, or you need to have a sophisticated labs, and you may end up in getting a Nobel Prize. Whereas nature does it very easily and very quietly. So the hallmark of many molecules in nature are chiral. So to understand nature and to understand molecules of life, you need to have chiral analytical tools. Now let's just try to understand the technology, how it is going. Interestingly, if you look at this, these 3 scientists, got Nobel Prize in 2001 for their work in, developing, working on chiral synthesis. In fact, they developed chiral catalyst. I'll take you to these. One of them is called the Knowles, then Sharpless, then Naori. All are very famous scientists here, Nobel laureates. He worked, he was developing actually chirally catalyzed hydrogenation reactions, and his method was employed. Catalyst was employed for the production of L-DOPA. So these are wide synthetic applications, and they were all awarded Nobel Prizes. If you look at Sharpless, Sharpless is from the Scripps Research Institute, USA, and he developed again chirally catalyzed oxidation reactions, and which have been widely employed, and in fact beta blockers have been synthesized using his technology. So he's another person. So all these are telling you the prominence of the field. He's from Naori is from Nagoya University, Japan. He developed chiral hydrogenation reaction catalyst, and they have been widely employed for the production of levofloxacin, an antibacterial agent, microbial agent. So you find 3 of them getting Nobel Prize, indicating the importance of the field. This is a slide showing you the global market. It's expected to reach somewhere around $7.6 billion by 2022. So that's a kind of global business happening in chiral technology. Look at the kind of revenue generated from chiral chemicals by application between the period 2014 and projected 2024. If you look at pharmaceuticals in particular, and you look at 2013, the value is somewhere around 10,000 million US dollars, and the projection for 2024 is somewhere around it's around 20,000 million US dollars, indicating that it's almost doubling by this period. So that's a kind of revenue being generated in this area, reflecting the importance. This slide shows the new molecular entities that is being introduced, approved. One is from the FDA, and other one is across the worldwide. And if you look at this statistics from 2002 to 2011 here, and it is 2001 to 2010, you'll find that in every year you find that the one with the kind of, this is maybe you call it as a sandal color, yellow color, that's a single pure enantiomer. You find here everywhere that is stopping. 2002 you got 8 means somewhere around 50%. In 2007 you will find approximately 70% of the new molecular entities introduced are chiral pure enantiomers. Here 9, here 12. And if you look at the worldwide, in 2003 it is 13, 2010 it is 40. So everywhere you find that the blue one is racemic. Racemic mixture means together. And chiral, we are not worried about that. So you find the new molecular entities which are being approved either from the FDA side or from the worldwide market. You find that they are topping the list, indicating the trend towards enantiopure molecules. Another slide to tell you the same. The major proportions of the medicines are chiral in the market. This is the approved drugs between 2004 and 2006 from the US FDA website. You can visit that. And you find approximately 67% of the medicines in the market are chiral. 47% enantiomer multi-chiral centers, racemic 5%, enantiomer single centers 18%, multi-diastereoisomers 2%, and achiral 28%. So major proportions, approximately around 70% of the medicines today in the market are chiral. It might be a little more today because the data is between 2004 and 2006. And interesting, so these are the Indian research players who are into chiral research. Topping the list is MQ from Pune. Then of course you've got Cipla, Reddy's, Zydus, Cadila, Ranbaxy, Torrent, Dicel from Hyderabad. They make Dicel chiral columns. And in fact, they separate and give you pure enantiomers on contract basis. Shasan is another company from Pondicherry. So these are the leading companies, Indian companies engaged in chiral research. So all this tells you the prominence of the field. Now let's just take a look at let's look into the bioenvironment. It's very interesting. The behavior of a chiral molecule depends upon the environment in which it's present. If their behavior is more pronounced in a chiral environment. I'll give you a simple example. You look at the assay of ibuprofen. Ibuprofen, routinely you perform this assay in your regular classes, undergraduate classes. It has got a carboxylic function. This molecule has got one chiral center indicating it can exist in a pair of enantiomers. This is the R enantiomer, which has got the desired activity, and this is the S enantiomer. You estimate this usually in the laboratory using containing a carboxylic function. You estimate using an alkali. So you titrate with an alkali, you get the assay and get the total content. But this will not tell you how much of a left-handed molecule is present and how much of right-handed molecule is present. Simple as that. Because the assay is done in an achiral environment. Alkalimetry is an achiral environment. Even if you perform this assay using an HPLC, using an ODS column, regular ODS column, octadiazyl, stationary phase, again you will not be able to get because the assay environment is not chiral. So to know how much R is present, how much S is present, you need to provide a chiral environment. That's the basic challenge in chiral HPLC analysis. So if the environment is chiral, then you can differentiate. If the environment is achiral, you cannot differentiate chiral molecules. So that's the interesting behavior of these molecules. Now, if you look at that, interesting biological systems and human body are intensely chiral at molecular level. We are filled with chiral discriminators. We are filled with the proteins, carbohydrates, amino acids. All these are chiral, which means that human system can differentiate left-handed molecules from right-handed molecules. In other words, the human body will handle them differently. Handle them in the sense, their metabolism will be different, elimination will be different, their protein binding will be different. So all these could be different. That's interesting. And I'll give you a simple example to make this perspective clear. Look at this molecule. You're all familiar with this molecule, limonene. It's a simple molecule with a chiral center, one center. The molecule can exist in a pair of enantiomers. You call them as R-limonene, and the other one is called S-limonene. These two are mirror image molecules, and R has got an orange smell, whereas S has got a lemon smell. The difference between these two molecules is they are called as mirrored configuration. I'm changing the shape of the molecule when I move from R to S, I am changing the shape of the molecule. So when I change the shape of the molecule, it's believed that in one of the shapes, it is able to interact with the receptor responsible for giving you a orange smell, and whereas the other receptor, other shape, it's triggering receptor site, which is triggering a lemon smell. See, simple change in shape is giving you widely different biological perspective. Here it's an olfactory perspective, the nasal tract. So what I'm trying to hint here is shape matters very much. If a molecule is chiral, a simple change in the shape can give you widely different biological properties. So think about drug molecules. When I move from one enantiomer to another enantiomer, you'll have a wide spectrum of activity changes. We'll see you that a bit later. I'll give you examples. So it's a simple example, and you normally describe this as chiral distinction or chiral discrimination, and you explain chemically. There's a simple mechanism to understand. You assume the configuration of body as R. It's a pair of enantiomers. You R drug and this is S enantiomer. So they interact and give you a complex. This is an RR and this is SS. These two are related as diastereoisomers, and as you're aware, diastereoisomers have different physicochemical properties, and it's expected that so they have a different biological actions. This can be put it in a little more diagrammatic way to you may feel it better. You find here this receptor site. We call it Eisen-Steadman model. Pharmacology people might be knowing the Eisen-Steadman model. These are the receptor points here, and the drug molecule is able to interact A to A prime, B to B prime. You find here all the 3 points are able to interactions are quite good. Here you find only one group is atom or substituent is able to interact, meaning that there's a weaker interaction is a good interaction. You call this as a good fit. You call this as a bad fit. And the theory understood when we take into account that this fourth group is not interacting. That's fine here for this discussion. So the one with the kind of desired activity is called eutomer, and the other one is called the distomer. When I have a pair of enantiomers, the molecule with desired activity is called eutomer, and the other one is called distomer. For example, here is the definition for eutomer. Enantiomer with the desired biological action is called eutomer. The other one, undesired or different activity, is called distomer. I'll be using this frequently, so just keep in mind. So this is how we explain chiral discrimination, and But then, if I said earlier one point that major proportion of the drug in the market are chiral. So you find that both the partners in drug therapy, the drugs are major proportions are chiral, and you find that biological systems are chiral. So you can expect very complex. And let us now take a look at the sequence of biological actions and how human body may handle chiral traits. And this scheme you're all very familiar. There's a drug molecule here. This is phases of biological action. Racemic drug you take orally. It gets into the pharmaceutical phase where you got disintegration and dissolution. Then what survives is called a pharmaceutical availability. This gets into the pharmacokinetic phase where you got absorption, distribution, metabolism, and elimination. Then what survives is called bioavailability or biological availability. And then you get into the pharmacodynamic phase, where you got a ligand protein or drug receptor interactions and giving you a response, which could be either a toxicity or an effect which you're looking for. So the intention here is, if you look at the scheme, all these phases can be enantioselective. The pharmaceutical phase can be enantioselective, pharmacokinetic phase can be enantioselective, and pharmacodynamic can be enantioselective. I'll give you some examples. The key point here is, by definition, racemic therapeutic is it's 50-50 of equimolecular mixture of enantiomers. But the moment you put it in a biological system, it is no more 50-50. It can be any ratio, 80-20, 60-40, 70-30. You don't know. To understand how much of the R is present, how much S is present, you need to track them, or you need to have an enantioselective investigation. So that's a very important point. And I'll give you one or two examples to highlight the differences in pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic aspects. Look at pharmacokinetic. This is a simple molecule, salbutamol. You're aware it's a bronchodilator. It's got an one chiral center, so a pair of enantiomers here. There's a mirror here. R is the eutomer, the desired, which has got the bronchodilator activity, and this is the distomer with the lesser activity here. This is inactive in this case. You find here, interestingly, this molecule undergoes a stereoselective metabolism, meaning that here the R enantiomer undergoes metabolism, whereas it's metabolized, whereas the distomer is not getting metabolized, which means that the desired molecule is getting eliminated from the blood or from the plasma much quicker than the inactive form. So what happens is, by this process, the concentration, the biological availability of the R comes down, meaning that the dose is not sufficient. So which means that to understand this kind of stereoselective metabolism, you need to have a enantioselective pharmacokinetic investigation. Otherwise, you perform a regular investigation, you will not know what's happening. So if the molecule under question is chiral, whatever you study, kinetic study, need to be from an enantioselective perspective. You need to use chiral tools. If you are using a bioequivalent study, you need to do that. Otherwise, the data you generate is of no meaning. Similarly, another interesting example here for a profile. Look at this profile. You look at the pharmacokinetic complexity, differential properties. This is dextrabiprazole. It's a proton pump inhibitor. Levorabiprazole. These two are enantiomers. RNS. If you look at this table, you find these parameters are totally different. Cmax, the value is 576 here. Is almost half 234 here. If you look at area under the curve, 1972 here, it is 1/3. 460. T half is 2.7, 1.5. So you find that, all the kinetic parameters are widely different for enantiomers. So it becomes very important that you have a mirror image perspective when making all these investigations. Look at pharmacodynamics. I'll give you a few examples. Look at, as I said earlier, ibuprofen is, this is the eutomer here. This is the distomer, pair of enantiomers. I think you understand that. And this molecule, S, is 100 times more active than this one. See, each form has a widely different activity. So why should you give this racemic mixture? You purify, you pure enantiomer. That's the logic. Ketamine, this is got an anesthetic, general anesthetic activity, whereas the R form harbors toxicity. Penicillamine, different. Here it is used for treatment of Wilson's disease. This has got a toxic called granulocytosis. Propoxyphene, this will come back to a little later. You see here, two enantiomers have got two different, widely differing activities. This is analgesic, this is antitussive. Two enantiomers having two different therapeutic indications. These are on the market. I'll come back to that a little later. Well, a few more examples here. Look at warfarin. Warfarin in the S enantiomer is 2.5 times more active than anticoagulant. And then the distomer. The distomer is less active. Look at salbutamol, we just pointed earlier, 68 times more potent than the S form, which means that, kinetic and dynamics, there's a varying difference between enantiomers. Excuse me. So it becomes important that you need to have a mirror image perspective. Now look at the toxicity. I'll just go into the interesting aspects. You find that number of drugs are withdrawn from the world market because of stereochemically engineered toxicity. A few I'm listing here. The thalidomides, of course, a very, very famous tragedy. I'll come back to that a little later. You look at these drugs. Terodolin is withdrawn from the world market because of a toxicity, because of stereochemically engineered toxicity called cardiotoxicity. So it's withdrawn from the market in 1991. Bifenadron, it got a hepatotoxicity. Again, it's attributed to one of the enantiomers, so withdrawn from the market. Delvelol, then prenylamine, then which causes arrhythmia, so withdrawn from the world market. So you find number of drugs are withdrawn from the world market because of stereochemical engineering toxicity. So this becomes a very, very important aspect you need to know. So to sum up so far what I've been talking about this section is that you find that the biological targets where the drugs are believed to interact, proteins or receptors where you're targeting, you are designing molecules, they are chiral, and you find that the other partner, the drug or the other component is believed to interact is also chiral. So you find that two players of the drug therapy are chiral, and so you can expect unexpected things. So if your molecule under question is chiral or stereoisomeric in that broader sense, then all the investigations you perform is to have a enantio selective perspective. So chirality is very important in terms of potency, selectivity, pharmacokinetic properties, pharmacodynamic property. We will discuss in length a little later. So you find that shape is very important here. Now let's take a look at the regulatory. What does regulatory people talk about? This slide shows you you find that there's favorable government regulations today. There's an increased demand for enantiopure compounds, growing importance of single enantiomer drugs. There's a rising significance of chiral chromatography technology. So you find there's an explosion of chiral technology. So earlier it was not available. So today we have that. And so there's a need to go with these tools and try to understand chiral molecules much better. So if you look at the regulatory guidelines today, the regulatory guidelines across the globe strongly encourage development of single enantiomers and discourage stereoisomeric or racemic mixtures. That's the trend today. And approval will not be granted if the drug containing more than one isomeric, one isomer is unless the pharmacokinetic or pharmacodynamic properties of each could be described or, more importantly, justified. So to market a racemic therapeutic, you need to justify the safety of both enantiomers. That's very important. And the regulatory agencies like US FDA, European Union, then the Drug Licensing Authority, Japan, all demand for enantio-specific data on pharmacokinetic, pharmacodynamic, and toxicological profile of chiral drugs to assess the safety and efficacy of the molecules. So I'll give you one example, one extract from the Japanese approval processing. You read the last paragraph here. You find that when the drug concerned is a racemic body, it is recommended to investigate absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion of each isomer separately. So if the molecule is racemic, then you need to submit data for both the enantiomers separately. You don't treat them as a single. You should treat them as two separate chemical entities and then submit the data. Otherwise, your applications will not be processed. So that's how people are putting pressure on people working on this. And this you can read more on this website, Chirality Journal, and then of course on the US FDA website you can find more details on that. Okay, now get into the chiral method development, and it's very important here also. In chiral method development, you find that in quality control of formulated chiral drugs, there's a need for chiral analytical tool, say to confirm that manufacturing processes induce no unacceptable changes in the enantiomeric purity of the final product, and that the stereochemical integrity be maintained for the proposed shelf life. So to understand that during the process or during the shelf life, you make sure that the enantiomeric purity or stereochemical integrity is not disturbed. So to understand that, you need a chiral analytical look or a tool. Then monitor outcome of asymmetric synthesis or asymmetric reactions in which crucial stereogenic centers are created. For instance, if you are synthesizing a chiral molecule, so you must know that the center is created and how stable it is. To know that, you need a chiral analytical approach. To guarantee the chiral identity purity of active substances before each batch is released in chemical development, you need a tool. To assess enantiomer specificity of pharmacokinetic, pharmacodynamic, and toxicological activity profile. So we are performing, any of these studies, routine studies, you do kinetic study, you do pharmacodynamics. In all these situations, there's a need to assess enantiomer specific, otherwise data is of no use. Then to monitor chiral metabolites, if you are performing an in vivo study and the metabolite is a chiral molecule, so you need to track that. So you need a chiral perspective. And finally, to detect the stability, the potential configuration inversion, you need a chiral analytical approach, especially because certainly the chiral center is not stable. There's a tendency for inversions. From one S can invert into R or R can move into S. This can happen in vivo. You call it as racemization, in vivo conversions. And this is a very important concept, especially if you're looking for switching. If you have to switch a molecule, the molecule need to be very stable, and possibly I'll touch upon that at a little later stage. So you find that in all these stages, what I've been trying to say so far is on the last 15 minutes or so, the importance of chirality in wherever you go. You look at nature, nature is chiral, the environment, biological system is chiral, and the most of the drugs are chiral, and the regulatory authorities favor chiral technology. So there's a need for this perspective in all your investigations. Now look at handedness, and there's a rediscovery of stereochemistry. That's my feeling all the time. So before I've been going through a list of papers that has appeared in not in scientific journals, but in a lot of news magazines like New York Times. I'll come back to the independent Times magazines. You find that a lot of articles have come up in these kind of magazines and newspapers, indicating that there is a kind of resurgence of certain field. For instance, I'll tell you one interesting example here. Look at chloroquine. Chloroquine has been recently in the newspapers, even newspapers, because of this has been used as they found it could be a likely potential to treat COVID. And in fact, I had a lecture last week on that. So this topic, whenever there's a topic which is of great significance, it will immediately come up in a public media, like in TV, it will come up in news magazines, not necessarily in journals. So this, what happened was there's a report that chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine is creating more death than the in the COVID patients, and this is published in Lancet and New England Journal of Medicine, which is a very top class journals in the US. And immediately after that, there are 2 editors and hundreds of scientists were questioning the validity of the data. And finally, these 2 papers were retracted. They were withdrawn from the journal. They were retracted, and then who said the clinical trials will continue. So what I'm trying to say is that when a field is of so much of importance, you'll find that they start appearing in news magazines and journals, not even scientific journals, TVs and all that. So these 2 papers are withdrawn. Similarly, what I found was in the period between 1984 and 2004, you found a lot of papers. I'll just quickly go through the titles. You can just try to understand that. 84, you find Left Hand of Nature, New Scientist, 84. 1991, Through the Looking Chemical Glass, New Scientist. Mirror Image Yielding New Products, 1991, New York Times. Looking Glass Chemistry, Science. So these are some of them are journals, some of them are magazines, 1992. Drug firms sort their lefts from their rights, Sunday. Lateral thinking, you're talking about chiral molecules, separating and their behaviors and all that. The Time magazine, lateral thinking. Then again, few more. Mirror Images, The Guardian, 1994. It's a big newspaper in the US. Science, Mystery of Mirror Images, Independent, 1995. Efficacy, on the other hand, Drug Discovery Today, 1998. Life spawns from left-handed molecules, United Press International, 2003. New process shifts mirror image molecules, 2003. What I'm trying to say is all these have been happening during the period 1984 to there appeared to be a renewed interest in stereochemistry, as if stereochemistry was discovered just that time. But stereochemistry we know is as old as Louis Pasteur. We'll come back to that a little when you go to the chiral timeline. So you find there's a rediscovery of stereochemistry, and so we need to find out why there's a rediscovery and what are the events for that. Let's see. This I'm skipping because I think it will consume more time. We'll skip that. I'll go into events and stimulants which are responsible for rediscovery of chiral science or stereochemistry. Then what are the attitude change and impact on research and other across the various sectors. Before that, let us take a look at the chiral timeline, and I would love to show you to the scientists who are involved in what is stereochemistry today is because of all these people, including my professor, Professor Harikishan Singh. Is a wonderful teacher. At this point of time, I'd like to make a mention about you like a subject because you like your teacher. If your teachers can inspire you, you like the subject. I had wonderful teachers on chemistry, in particular on stereochemistry. Last 30 years, I've been talking on this, and there are a few institutions who have taken benefit of that. So you basically like a structure and a subject because you like your teacher. So teacher becomes very, very important. You need to not just teaching, you need to inspire your students. Every field, not only stereochemistry, because my teachers happen to be for me like that. I'm little stereophilic, but you can be normal, but don't have stereophobia. That's my point. So stereochemistry as early as 1815 discovered optical activity. Biot, Louis Pasteur, the 1848 first achieved separation of enantiomers. 30 years after that, he separated enantiomers under microscope physically based on their morphology and able to separate that. Louis Pasteur. 1984, it's the same period, the Dutch chemist, they put forth the basic molecular principle of the molecular chirality principle that's called tetrahedral carbon. They said that, when 4 ligands are attached to carbon, you call them as sp3 carbon, and that can exist in enantiomer. That's a fundamental theory of stereochemistry. This was, done almost 140 years back. So we know stereochemistry as early as these people, Dutch Van Hoff and Leber. Interesting. Then came the Fischer in 1894. He was a carbohydrate chemist, and he visualized the fit as an enzyme substrate. And he's a carbohydrate chemist, lock and feed mechanism. It's a very interesting. We use it today for drug receptor interactions. Then 1904, the Kelvin, he introduced the term chiral into literature for the first time. He's a person who introduced the term chiral, meaning handedness. Then came, Kushner. He was the British pharmacologist, and he first offered a definite example for the difference between enantiomers of a chiral molecule. He said that this happened after 50 years of the Van Hoff-Leber theory of isomerism. He went on to say that levohyoscine is 2 times more active than the racemic form. So he was giving a live example. Adrenaline, levoadrenaline is 2 times more active than racemic form. So these are all happening, So we know stereochemistry as early as that. Then, of course, in the reinforced the term chirality into literature. Curtin Mislow, this book I'm sure you'll have in your library. Then in 1966, Prologue, he got a Nobel Prize in chemistry. He devised the, RS notations, which are all familiar, RS and EZD notations. He got a Nobel Prize for work in chemistry, especially in stereochemistry of alkaloids, antibiotics, enzymes, and all that. So the point here is we know stereochemistry as early as those times. Not that it's discovered, but even talk today. But in 2001, you had the Nobel Prize happening. So what are the events and stimulants, which made this rediscovery of stereochemistry? And I find, to my, reading and understanding, there are basically 2 interesting happenings which have made rediscovery of stereochemistry. One is that stereochemically introduced drug toxicity. Another one is breakthrough and landmark publication. So these 2, we'll just try to go through that. You find here, this is a very famous molecule which you all know, thalidomide, got a 1 chiral center, and it has got a, when I have a 1 chiral center, you can have a pair of enantiomers, So this drug was given in 1956 to introduce the world market, and this was given to pregnant women to control nausea and vomiting. They had early trimesters, nausea, vomiting, and this drug was given to control that. And they found that the babies born, I'm sorry, excuse me. Oh, excuse me, little. Yeah. Babies born had a condition called phocomelia, or you call them as a teratogenic effect. This is a condition, and you find that these babies, these babies are called as thalidomide babies. They're born with deformed hands and limbs. Very, very painful, condition. You call them as thalidomide babies, and they were. They thought this happened, for the women who have taken this, there's a medicine for treatment, and they found that this was linked to the thalidomide drug, and so it was withdrawn from the world market in 1961. Then later research was on, and they were able to resolve the molecule, this pair of enantiomers, they resolved, and they found that the R isomer had a beneficial sedative effect, whereas the S isomer had about the toxicity. So simple as that. So they found that R is beneficial, whereas the S enantiomer is toxic. So this is how, and so there are little allegations on thalidomide, but thalidomide is not that bad. In fact, people thought that if thalidomide, you were separated and given the, desired molecule, this tragedy wouldn't have happened. But it is not that way. In fact, even during the 2001 Nobel Prize, this is the quote they have given: the thalidomide tragedy would probably never have been occurred if, instead of using racemate, the R enantiomer has been brought to market. In studies, it was shown that an S enantiomer exerts. So this is the general perception. Had you given the desired molecule, there is no toxicity, but it is not correct. And later studies prove that all the studies have been performed in animal on thalidomide at that time, and it's very difficult to extrapolate animal data to human data. That's a very important point. You cannot extrapolate data that you obtained from an animal study cannot be extrapolated to a human system. So that doesn't work. Further, in 1995, Erickson et al. Studied that even if whichever enantiomer you give in vivo, once you put thalidomide in vivo, there's a tendency for the enantiomers in humans to undergo rapid interconversion. That's called as chiral inversion. Whichever molecule you put in, you put R enantiomer or you put in S enantiomer, in vivo, there's a tendency for chiral inversion. So there's no point in, whichever molecule you give, this molecule will be behaving like that. So that's very important concept. But, we just blame thalidomide, but today thalidomide is back again and they are using it for trying for treatment of leprosy. In fact, people use it for, treatment against AIDS and all that. So the molecule is not bad. Our science and our knowledge was not that okay. This is one of the reasons, thalidomide tragedy. Another one is landmark publications. These are series of publications done by one professor, called as Professor E.J. Arens of University of Netherlands. He wrote a volume of books on, you call it as drug design volumes, and so he published a series of papers, and I would like you to go through those titles. Very interesting. 1984. Stereochemistry, a basis of sophisticated nonsense in pharmacokinetics and clinical pharmacology. 1986, stereochemistry, a source of problems in medicinal chemistry. 1987, stereochemistry analysis of drugs. Then you look at this paper, 1987, implications of neglect of stereochemistry in pharmacokinetic and clinical pharmacology. Stereochemistry, a natural aspect of molecular biology, a blind spot in clinical pharmacology, pharmacokinetics. And this is one interesting. Stereochemistry of bioactive xenobiotics, a pre-partial attitude in medicinal chemistry, pharmacokinetic and clinical pharmacology. So all these papers started, people thinking on this, and this made scientists across the world to think on this, and they decided that yes, there is a need for look into these molecules, and their behavior is pretty different, and you need a chiral analytical perspective. And he went on to say, Arens even went on to declare or advocated that therapeutically non-active isomer, the isomer is in a racemate should be regarded as an impurity. What he's trying to say is that I want a racemic mixture. 50% is desired molecule and 50 is impurity, which means that you are giving 50% impurity to a patient. You're giving an impurity to a patient. Why should you load that? For instance, you're giving a racemic therapeutic to a patient with a liver problem. Only 50% is pure, the 50 is impure. To eliminate the 50% impurity, whatever drug molecule, the system need to work on that. You are spending energy on that. The metabolism need to go on. So what he's trying to say is that if it is inactive and if it is not serving any purpose, you need to separate, give the pure molecule. But of course, in the process of separating, the price will go up and there's a lot of issue there. So that's a different, altogether a debate. But that was he was trying to propose. So he says 50% should be regarded as an impurity. So neglect of stereochemical aspects of drug action degrades pharmacokinetic studies to expensive, highly sophisticated nonsense. 50% impurity is not acceptable. So what he finally trying to say is that racemates should be treated as fixed drug combinations. See, when I say ibuprofen, paracetamol, you understand these two are two drugs, right? Paracetamol is one drug. Ibuprofen is a different drug. So when I say racemic ibuprofen, you think that the R and S enantiomers are two different forms of the same compound. No, not that. They should be treated as two different compounds. You perform assay, suppose I give you a mixture of paracetamol, ibuprofen, you perform assay for ibuprofen, you perform assay for paracetamol. Similarly, you need to perform assay for both the enantiomers. That's called enantioselective studies. So this is, he went on to say that, and today things are much better. We will come back to that now. What are the attitude change and impact on that? The broad spectrum sector where the impact is on research and development, there's a lot of change. Academia, there's a lot of change. Then regulatory affair control, there's a lot of change. We'll see that. So today, enantiomers are treated as two different compounds and not two forms of the same compound. Each version of the chiral twin is essentially viewed as separate chemical species. That's fine. You treat them as fixed drug combination. I just explained, paracetamol, ibuprofen. This is one drug, this is a different drug. Similarly, you must treat enantiomers also as a polypharmacy. And today it's being done and many changes have happened. The further impact or the consequence of this attitude change is that, there's a birth of new journals like chirality, enantiomers, asymmetry, tetrahedron. These journals specifically are deal with publications pertaining to chiral molecules. Constitution of a stereoisomeric committee by the Center for Drug Efficacy and Research, USFDA. So there's a separate committee called stereoisomeric committee, indicating the importance of the field, which will look into all the aspects of stereoisomeric molecules issues, because it has become so much prominent that a separate cell is being created. Then, of course, exponential explosion of chiral technology, then emergence of chiral pharmacology. Then there's a formulation of FDA policy statement in 1992. You can, even today that's holding good, and you can go to this website and download the details, and you can go through that. Then chiral assays are there today, chromatographic separation, then enantioselective synthesis. The Nobel Prize was given there. The new nomenclature systems are coming up for stereochemical nature of medicines. Like, these are new nomenclature systems. Certain weaknesses are there. I believe people will get sorted slowly. See, for example, you don't say, yes, ofloxacin and all that. Today we say levofloxacin. So you easily understand levofloxacin is a pure enantiomer. It's a switch, you call it as a switch of ofloxacin. Ofloxacin is a racemic mixture. Levofloxacin is a pure enantiomer. You call them as a chiral switch. Levocitrazine is a switch of citrazine. Dexketoprofen is a switch of dexketoprofen. See? So this is a naming in which you'll understand, all public will be easily able to. For example, esomeprazole. It's a pure enantiomer of omeprazole, esomeprazole. So these nomenclatures have come up, and there are certain loopholes there. I think people will get, they'll get corrected slowly. Then there are recommendations, to include chapters on drug stereochemistry to books in pharmacology, especially in medical colleges. Like Goodman-Gilman, I didn't go through that, because if you look at the 1980s textbooks of pharmacology or, any other, pharmaceutics like Nogradi and all that, Goodman-Gilman, you will not find references of stereochemistry in the chapter. But today, if you open up, you will find separate chapters, and there will be references on enantioselective pharmacology or chiral pharmacology, you call it as. So things have changed today. Then there are changes in editorial policies for journals. There are journals where if the molecule under question is chiral, and if you don't reveal the stereochemical informations, your article will not be published. So they put you pressure on that. So if the molecule is chiral and you are publishing your paper on a specialized journal like chirality, you need to give details and reveal the stereochemical composition, their properties in particular. So there's another last part is there's a re-engineering of old drugs, racemic drugs in the enantiopure. You call them as chiral switches. I'll just come back to that later. And the 15 minutes, I think you should be able to wind up. So what's the basic impact is that, the component enantiomers of a racemic drug may differ widely in their pharmacokinetic, pharmacodynamic, and toxicological profiles. As very ample examples are given you, because kinetic and dynamic, all they differ between enantiomers. So there's a need to track the profile of both enantiomers separately in a chiral development process. That's very basic important. Even your project MPharm or a PhD you're supervising, if you picked up a molecule which is chiral, if you're sure it's a chiral molecule, then you need to put on your mirror image, and then you need to have a looking glass perspective. Otherwise, your study is of, I tell you, it is of no use. Then the other side, on the regulatory side, there's a lot of pressure from government regulatory agencies for the production of enantiopure molecules, and you find an ample number of chiral switches are on the market, and giving you a lot of examples there. So with these changes, let us see, what is the research opportunities it throws open for in a pharmaceutical field or in general. What's the objective of chiral research? The objective is, by having chiral specific drugs, there's a less complex and more selective pharmacological profile. Instead of two enantiomers, I got one, the profile becomes simple. There's a potential for improved therapeutic index, less complex pharmacokinetic profile, reduced potential for complex drug interactions, less complex relationship between plasma concentration effect. So you make the whole profile simpler. If it's the racemic mixture, it's more complex. I'm going for a chiral specific drug, things become much more simpler. Okay, I'll give you some examples to tell you how this has chiral switches got into you. It's a very simple, interesting molecule. I said earlier, propoxyphene. The left side is called levopropoxyphene. This is called dexpropoxyphene. These two are enantiomers, mirror image molecules. You find here this has got an antitussive action, this has got an analgesic action. Two different activities, two enantiomers separated. And these two have a different therapeutic indications. One is antitussive, other is analgesic. And this is separated, marketed by Lilly company. This is available in the market today, and this is named as Novrad. And the enantiomer is named as an interesting way, mirror image, Darvon. Novrad, you find here NARB1, enantiomers. So you find enantiomers can have totally different activity, wide spectrum of activity. Because that's a big lecture I'm not able to give you, but I'll give you sample examples too, so that you get the I get back the point home. Different therapeutic indications. Another here is you find the chiral switches I was talking about, esomeprazole. This was introduced in AstraZeneca in 2000, and this was done for an improved, higher dose efficiency of the proton pump inhibitor. They said that by switching to yes, you have a higher dose efficiency and it's more useful. Switches. What are chiral switches? Let's see. Chiral switches are, I got a racemic therapeutic. I switch to a pure enantiomer, from a racemic to a pure enantiomer. For example, from just say omeprazole to yes omeprazole. Racemic drug to a pure enantiomer for a improved therapeutic efficacy, safety, or even of course to manage life cycle, patent expiring extension also you can do that. But these, inventions, these kind of inventions, they don't treat them as new inventions, but you treat them as selection inventions because the racemic drug is already invented, is approved. You're only switching from a racemic mixture to a pure enantiomer. So you call such as chiral switches. Sometimes you call them as a racemic switch as well. Yes. So this is an example of, you find here is a racemic mixture of ibuprofen. I got a racemic therapeutic, invented, developed, patented, approved. All these are done. Then what you do is you switch to a pure enantiomer, yes, ibuprofen, which has got the more activity. You call this as a chiral switch. But to perform these switches, you need to have what is called as bridging studies. I cannot just switch as I need because I have a technology. I cannot just blindly go and switching all the racemic pairs and put them onto a pure enantiomer. You cannot do that. What you do is you have to apply what is called bridging studies, convince the authorities that by separating the enantiomers, I am not sacrificing any beneficial effect because of both the enantiomers. By separating, I shouldn't lose any beneficial effect. It's something like, you're going for a divorce, I'm not applied for that. I'm just telling you, you go to a divorce to a court or law and you see in movies, the judge will not allow you to divorce immediately. What do they do? The pair should not be separate. So they wait for 1 year. Look for it. You try to understand each other. And you still, if you're not able to live together, then you separate. Similarly, to switch, you need to have a bridging study to be done. Yeah. So more switches, just quickly, another 10 minutes, I think I need to wind up. These are the enantiomers here and the therapeutic indications and the therapeutic category. All these are available in the Indian market. From cardiology, if you look at it, I got S-amlodipinase switch, S-metoprolol, S-atenolol. Gastroenterology, I find S-omeprazole is a proton pump. Antibacterial, levofloxacin, it's an infectious disease. So you find ample number of switches. Yes, ketamine, anesthetic. Dex, ketoprofen from rheumatology and pain inflammation category, NSAID drug. Then, levodopa, anti-Parkinson. So you find a lot of switches in the Indian market. These are pure enantiomers today. And these are the products in the Indian market and the companies. Major company involved is MCure from Pune, who are totally into chiral research. All these are available in the Indian market. You can just take a quick look. All these drugs are many of the molecules will be using it. So many switches are available in the market. Okay, with that, now we'll look into the opportunities. This is a point we would love to, I want all of this invitation to the chiral landscape. There's generally a belief that, all teachers or everybody, students or scholars believe that stereochemistry or the chiral science is only to people who are, belonging to chemistry department. It's not that. It penetrates into all the branches of pharmaceutical sciences. You'll be a pharmacologist, you'll be a pharmaceutical chemist, or you'll be a, pharmacy practice, pharmaceutics, analytical chemistry. The only requirement is if the molecule under question is chiral, any branch can work on that. I'll give you a few examples. If you're a synthetic medicinal chemist, what you can do is develop synthesis for enantiomer drugs, synthesis chiral intermediates, develop chiral catalyst, develop membrane technology for production to enantiomer drugs, stereoselective bioconversions investigations, chiral switch strategy. All these can be done by a synthetic chemist. If you're a pharmacologist, looking for enantioselective pharmacological studies with pharmacodynamic and toxicological profiling of chiral drugs. Investigate and validate the existing dose of chiral racemic drugs. Many times, you can reschedule the dosage because the dose will be for a racemic pair. As I said earlier, if one of the desired molecule gets eliminated, the dose will be less. So you need to add more. So these kind of validating the existing dose also can be done by pharmacologists. There's a publication here in Chemical Engineering News in 1990, where oral dose of verapamil, they found that need to be larger than originally believed, necessarily based on the plasma concentration, since the drug that reaches the blood stream is enriched in the less potent enantiomer. See, so all depends. So if to know this, you need to have an enantioselective investigation. So pharmacologists have a big role there. If you're a pharmacy practice, of course, stereoselective drug impressions can be done. Then enantioselective drug therapeutic monitoring is quite possible. Analytical chemistry, of course, wide options here. Developing, enantioselective chiral chromatographic separations, assay methods, chiral impurity profiling, develop stability indicating. All these can be done based on your question molecule. And I'll just give you one quick line. These are the tools available for chiral separations. I'm not going into details of this. Separation science, all these are available. Chiral GC, superfluid chromatography, thin grade chromatography, capillary electrophoresis, chiral HPLC. So if you look at that, you find that HPLC is the most popular tool. I'm sure all of these institutions will have HPLC. So HPLC is the best tool to work on chiral molecules. These are the publication year and the number of publications that has been done using these tools. You find Redis by HPLC is around 375 publications. Next comes is number 175 is by GC, chiral separation. Then capillary electrophoresis. So I'm sure HPLC, all the institutions have HPLC today, like, it's become a common equipment. So if that is there and a few chiral columns are there, you can work on these kind of molecules. And let me one slide on these are the scientists who are leading the field. It is for, dicyl chiral columns, is a polysaccharide column. It's called a invented prickle column. He has done on, this is called as this is a prickle column. This is Armstrong is a cyclodextrin columns. He is a Lux chiral column. So all these are the leading, scientists in the field of chiral. Maybe some other occasion I will talk to you on this. But I just wanted to, I always love to show you those scientists who are working hard right now for the development of science. So with that, we'll come to the last section of that, where you find pharmaceutics, This is a field where ample opportunities are there. Enantioselective selective bioequivalent studies can be done if it's a racemic therapeutic. The evolution of enantioselective selective release studies from formulations, coating chiral most excipients are chiral. So there's an option there to do. Then you can even transdermal, patches. There's a possibility for enantioselective selective transport across the skin. Then enantioselective selective permeability of racemic from oral dosage forms such as coated tablets. So the only requirement is molecule need to be chiral, and if your excipients are chiral, the study can be done. There's always an opening there. Last couple of enantioselective selective dissolution testing. You perform dissolution studies normally in your laboratories, but if the molecule is chiral, then you need to look for enantioselective selective release studies. Similarly, for even micro encapsulations, you can do that. And lastly, you can develop stereoselective drug delivery system. In fact, I have done a little work on this during my PhD. What here we do is we don't separate enantiomers. You have a racemic drug, you have a suitable chiral, choose an excipient and suitable pH conditions, and you hold one enantiomer which you don't want and release the one which you like to release. So you're holding one, you're releasing another one. So in that process, they call them as stereoselective drug delivery system. There are a lot of applications out there. You can just go through that. So shootics have got ample opportunities. So with that, I'm coming to my wrap-up slides. So today, chirality is an essential pharma research kit component. It's a very important kit in pharmacy research. And I welcome you all to the chiral landscape to take a look at the potential research opportunities available. There's a lot of, it's like, going to hotel, you taste many things, whichever you like, you order and eat it. Similarly, you go to the chiral landscape, look at the research opportunities. And I want to tell you again that, it's a trust area in the case of, especially all the government funding agencies like UGC, DST or DBT, all these funding agencies. Chiral technology is a trust area, so there's ample option. And if you go with a decent project, I'm sure you'll be able to get good funding and you can work on that. So if the molecule under study is stereoisomeric, in particular chiral, then all the investigations need to be done from a mirror image perspective. Else the data generated will be meaningless or nonsense. So that's very important. If the molecule is chiral, then you need to have a mirror image perspective. Otherwise, your data generated will be of no science. Gentlemen, we live in a three-dimensional world, and we should insist on a three-dimensional science. So with that, I think I've done my presentation. Hope I have not exceeded much because I started a little late. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to respond to that. And thank you, Carol. It was Valiappan here. Thank you. I'm done. Okay, hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
I think I'm done. What should I do now? Should I first, stop my screen sharing or?
Any delegate wanted to?
Thank you, Dr. Valiappan.
Yes, ma'am.
For your, a wonderfully designed presentation, especially your initial slides with the diagrams were beautiful. And now I declare the seminar open for discussion. If there are any queries, the participants can ask themselves. Are there any queries, participants?
Yeah, I said earlier, they've got a stereophobia. No.
Maybe the lecture was so lucid that there are no queries, or the subject is so tough
It can be either way. It can be either way. Either they understood or they have not understood anything. But I have not said nothing very serious here. I was just trying to tell them that the field is important and you need a chiral perspective when you work on a chiral molecule. Nothing specially I have said.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
because the Pathak told me very clearly, you need to give a very light kind of, presentation.
So thank you, Dr. Valiappan,
Yes.
for being there available for us and delivering the speech, kindling the interest in stereochemistry in the minds of the teachers.
Hope I have been able to do that. I don't know that you have to tell me from the feedback,
Yeah, here I'm. Just a minute, huh?
Oh, the certificates, right?
Yeah. Certificate is there. Plus, let me first, you wanted a feedback. So I wanted to go through. Dr. Vakode, can you take care of the feedback to him? I'll take care of the certificate.
Yeah, there are so many comments from the delegates.
Yes.
Simply, they are doing a very interesting session, informative session. Everybody's mentioned that only. But question was not there. So I request Pathak sir to unmute himself and he.
Should I unscreen, stop screening, or what should I do? Can I do that?
Kindly stop screen.
Yeah, so that easy for us to view. Yeah, that's better now. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Please stop.
Yeah, this looks better. I can see you much closer. Yeah, this is better view. Yeah, but nothing like live seminars. But this technology has allowed us to at least reach you people.
Yeah.
Very important.
I remember at this point. I remember my professor Harkishan saying So I in fact 2016 I went to meet him personally. So whenever I go meet him, he'll ask me, Valiappan, aapka stereochemistry kaisa hai? He's a wonderful teacher. Wonderful teacher.
Yes, they are stalwarts for the medicinal chemistry.
Lovely days, 85, 83. I really miss him. I miss him.
Yeah. Dr. Pathak is there. Sir, kindly unmute yourself and.
उनका दर्शन करें और अपना कुलीग का हम तो उसे बात कर रहे हैं रोज बात कर रहा हूँ लेकिन.
Dr. Pathak, are you there? Kindly unmute yourself and put on the video, sir.
Madam, I think I found, my name, I found a spelling mistake. One P is missing in Kannapa.
I corrected it.
अच्छा कर लिया? अभी मेरे को जो मेल आया था उसमें P एक ही P है.
Oh.
Double P है वाली.
Let me check.
My name is complicated, I think.
It is actually in North India, na? People are not aware. You have made me. People are not aware of this name. Normally, what happens?
Not North India, even South India, they are not aware. Yes, Sharma sir.
Now you made me worried about the certificate also, whether they have used double P or single P.
No,
anyway, if there is any correction, I'll do that and mail you. I was just waiting for Dr. Pathak if he is joining.
I would like to see him, say hello to him. He was my senior, he taught me we had a same guide those days.
Let me just call him and ask him to join. If it looks that
you had a meeting or something.
Yeah, he's not there.
That's okay.
Just let me check because you're willing. Let me just.
Sharma would like to talk something.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Sharma.
Good morning, Professor Valiappan.
Hey, Sharma, I couldn't know. I got somebody.
Actually, I was muted by the host.
So not able to.
I was trying,
I was also looking at, but I suddenly, I think the camera, I was not able to
I was muted by the host, actually. I was not able to connect you. So there's no question, but just I want to make a comment if the time permits.
Yeah.
Actually, some people, you know, they are born teachers. And so is Mr. Valiappan, because we were classmates together at Master in Pharmacy at Punjab University, Chandigarh.
Very much.
So during the first day, when there was a trend of ragging, sort of introduction of the juniors, and the whole big hall was full of the seniors, and you have to introduce yourself. So he introduced in such a way that he taught all the seniors, as he was already a teacher and they all were students, you know, so wonderful. And at that time, he used to move the electrons when we used to mug up the chemistry during our B pharmacy. So he was knowing how to move the electrons and about the mechanisms and all that, and particularly stereochemistry. So we were very good friends, and you know, the first class Professor Harkishan Singh, the who got the Padam Shri, he told us that you must have studied Morrison and White, but for passing the exams. So now you again go through the book for getting the knowledge. So such were our teachers, Professor Juneja, Kapoor, Kulkarni. So we were highly lucky enough to get the training from those teachers, and we were good friends. So congratulations, Professor Valli, for excellent presentation.
Thank you. Nice seeing you after a long time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I just spoke to Dr. Pathak, Dr. Valiappan.
Yes.
He is busy with some meeting, and he said that kindly convey my regards, but I'll not be able to join at present. I'm not in position to join.
No.
So it's our honor to have you with us, and it's a time to present you with a bouquet of flowers.
Yes.
Kindly accept that.
Sure. My pleasure.
Yeah. I hope you like the red roses.
Oh, nice bouquet. Too good. Yes. Thank you so much.
So let me present you with a certificate.
Wonderful.
I'm little worried about your name now,
Quick
but
one,
let me just present first, and then let us see further.
My parents have kept a
Sir, I'm very happy that the certificate name is perfect.
Aapka beautiful signature hai udhar.
Yeah, Dr. Sharad Vakode is there.
Maybe I know met. I've come once to, I think, your place.
Yeah. Last time when you visited DIPSAR, we were there.
Yaad nahi hai. Good.
Very nice. We will be sending you the certificate by mail, as well as I know that you don't need it, but it is our honor to send you.
I have a habit, you know, I put all this in a folder, and you know, I don't need it, but I do take it very, you know, these are very important, you know, you give a certificate is very important. From DIPSAR, receiving is very, in fact, I remember still myself and Professor Goyal, I remember we were together on a conference. So I talked on chiral pharmacology that time. So he specifically, it was a pharmacology conference in Chennai. So he came there, and Dr. Agarwal was the, you know, presiding, Professor Agarwal, I think he's president or something. So in fact, he came down to my session to watch on chiral pharmacology. So I'm glad that he's a vice chancellor there, and you know, it's nice. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sparing your time.
Yeah, I hope I have done my job. Hope I am not disappointed.
Yeah, you have done your job well.
If the participants are, you know, able to little, you know, inspire them, I'll be very happy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I now leave the thing? Namaste.
Yeah, please, sir. Please.
Sure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
So, delegates, it is always nice to have you, and without you, the program cannot go to the success. And that is the reason we always look forward to interact with the delegates face to face. But this time, we are finding it difficult to see you face to face, because we see the bubbling energy, we see the movement of the delegates, the question marks on their face. There are so many things which we keep observing and improving ourselves. So your feedback also is of great importance regarding the conduct of this first online quality improvement program. And according to your feedback, we will try to implement the new things in the upcoming programs. So you can always send the feedback on our mail IDs. You can send the feedback on the QIP DIPSAR@gmail.com, where you send your application form, or you can call us and tell us. It will be wonderful interacting with you. So let us have the break of lunch, and we will join today at 1:50 for our next presentation. And that is interesting presentation and useful to all of you, because it is in the era of online teaching. It is essential to prepare the PowerPoint presentations. And the next lecture is effective tools in preparing the PowerPoint presentations. Thank you very much. Okay, let us meet again in the afternoon.
Thank you, madam. So delegate 2-3 of from you can share your experience at the valedictory function. So be prepared, because VC sir will be there, director sir will be there, and
I think sir, we should. Sir, let us specify who will speak.
now we can
That would make the things very easy. I think Dr. Sandesh Lodha, would you like to speak? Is he there? Dr. Sandesh Lodha? Dr. Gajanan, can you speak, please? Can you give your reactions? I'm unable to hear you, sir.
Dr. Kumud wanted to share things.
Okay, just a minute. I request the IT team to unmute all the participants. I request the IT team to unmute all participants.
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am. This is Kumud.
Yeah. Dr. Kumud, would you like to give the feedback about the program in the valedictory function today at 4:15?
Yes, of course, ma'am. I would love to do that.
Okay. So Dr. Kumud is one of the delegates who would like to give the feedback. Then I can request one male member. Dr. Gajanan, would you like to give the feedback, sir? Dr. Gajanan is there? I think he is not there. Any other delegate who would like to come forward to give the feedback?
I think they are not unmuted. Individually, we are going to unmute them. Because of that, some problem.
Because of that, there is no response. Kindly unmute yourself. I request Dr. Manoj Charde to give his feedback in the evening session.
He is not having.
Yes.
IT team, actually, please unmute all the participants.
Yes, now it is unmuted.
Yes, ma'am, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Manoj Charde, I request you to give your feedback in the valedictory function at team. Again, all are muted. IT team, please unmute all the participants.
We are doing it, ma'am. It will take a minute.
Okay, fine.
Mr. Ade is there?
Sir, we will have two reactions. One is Dr. Kumud and the second would be Dr. Manoj Charde.
Yeah. The only thing I just wanted, because few of them.
Now it is unmuted, madam. I will be there for the feedback.
Okay. So I confirm that Dr. Kumud will give the feedback as well as Dr. Manoj Sarde.
Right, ma'am.
Right.
Right?
Yes,
Sure,
ma'am.
sure.
Okay. Dr. Vakode, any suggestion? Any more suggestion from your side, sir?
Nothing now. Those who could not introduce themselves can introduce. If we are having 5 minutes, we can go for that. I think Adil Ahmed, where from you are?
Hasni chunni dattistava.
Yeah. Miss Deepa, you can speak. I think
Participants, I have sent the message. You all can unmute yourself now. We have selected the unmute option.
Sir, I think we can take it later because people are leaving.
Yeah.
And we can join at right time in the afternoon.
Okay, yeah, because
Good afternoon, sir. Myself Ritesh Propat from Dr. Rajendra Gode College of Pharmacy. I am also acting as a assistant professor at Pharmaceutics Department, and I am also art of living faculty. It's pleased to be have with you for this QIP session, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
thank you. Thank you.
Hello.
Ade sahab. Yes, speak out.
Yes, sir. Very good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sir, myself Ranjit Arte
Hello.
from lecturer in pharmacy from Gita Devi Khandelwal Institute of Pharmacy, Apula.
Okay.
Yes.
It's nice to see you from Gita Devi Khandelwal. I am alumni of Gita Devi Khandelwal Institution. Convey my regards
Yes, sir.
to
Yes, sir.
Patil sir. It's a very
Yes, sir.
yes institute and delivered so many stalwarts in the pharmacy profession. Thanks to Professor Chandak sir, principal of the GKIP. Thank you. Welcome.
Yes, sir. All the faculty members.
Yeah. And
Yes, sir. All are missing you on the when we was conducted the alumni meet.
yeah.
And yes, sir. And please, if you have any, if you have time, then please visit our institute, sir. Please.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes, a very good afternoon, sir. Yes, good afternoon, madam. Amrita, madam. And
Hello.
Vakade, sir. Hello. Am I audible, ma'am?
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Dr. Deepa from Annamacharya College of Pharmacy.
Hello. I think most of them have already given introduction. So thank you very much. We'll join again by 2 p.m. after lunch. And if someone is remaining, we can take introduction at that point also, 2 o'clock, because 5 minutes, 10 minutes gap will be always there. So join at the earliest. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful session.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Madam, okay. Thank you. It was very nice to interact with all of you in this QIP session. Okay, in hope in future we'll come to DIPSAR for attending QIP session. So that will be a good occasion for all of us to help you or to suggest something new, see the various labs of DIPSAR. We generally arrange one industrial visit also during this QIP programs to the either IPC, Indian Pharmacological lab, or some dope testing lab, or some CSR labs, or some industrial labs also we visit. So we are missing that part here. So I hope in the future you will be in touch with us. Thank you very much. Thank you. We can leave now. Thank you.